Hi everyone, this is Guy. I want to just go over some of the techniques that you need to use in Excel. And these are a little different than what you've done in Word and PowerPoint, but very similar. So let's go through those. So click is going to select something. And in Word, I would insert the cursor, but in Excel, it actually selects a cell. And when it does that, it draws a green selection border around the cell to indicate that the cell's been selected. Now, where the click works like it does in Word is up here in the formula bar, where you want to edit something, and you click the I-beam cursor at any location in the formula bar, and you can edit by typing or using the delete key or backspace key, whatever. So a click selects something, and it's indicated by this green selection border. A double click in Excel does not do much. So if I double click, nothing really happens there. Unlike in Word, where a double click usually selects the next larger thing beyond what's currently selected. So another technique that you're going to use a lot in Excel is click and drag. So if I click in a cell and hold the left mouse button down and drag, it selects all the cells that I've dragged over. So now the selection border goes around all the cells, not just the one I started in. So you're going to use that quite a bit, and it looks like this diagram here, where you have a border going around all the cells that are selected. Another way to do the same thing is called the shift click. So if I click in a cell and then hold the shift key down and click somewhere else, it selects everything in between the first click and the second click. And that works in all directions. So it works down and it works diagonally as well. So the Excel will tell you what's selected. It'll draw that border around it, so you'll see that. This is handy when you have a lot of numbers on a big worksheet and you're scrolling around. To click and drag when you're scrolling the sheet gets really awkward. So it's much easier to click in one place, use your elevator or scroll bar to get to where you want to end the selection, then hold the shift key and click there. Another very useful thing is the control click. So if I click in a cell, hold the control key down, and click in another cell, I've selected both of those cells, but not the ones in between. So this is allowing you to select non-adjacent cells. And you can use that in several ways. So here I clicked 3 cells, hold the control key down, and click and drag and select 3 more. I can hold the control key down and select and drag 3 additional ones. And it works in all directions. So if I control, click and drag again, so whatever you select, and it doesn't have to be the same number. So I've got a control click here, and then suppose I control click and drag all of these. So now I've selected all these cells in column D and only the one in column B. So it's used to select more than one cell when they're not touching. Now another really key one in Excel is the click and drag. So I've selected this cell. When I move over the selection border, the cursor changes to crossed arrows. If I left click while it's in that crossed arrows, then I can move this cell, and I can move it anywhere I want. So I just wanted to illustrate that. You have to move it over the selection border and then left click and hold, and then drag where you want. And this works for entire columns. So I can move over the selection border, so I get the crossed arrows, and click and drag, and I can move it. Let's say I move it over here if I want. So you can use that technique to move rows, columns, or blocks of cells. So here's a block of cells, and I can move that over somewhere. So that's very useful. And then the last one I want to illustrate is the autofill handle. So the autofill handle will copy whatever's in the cell that you, or whatever's in your selection, and use that to fill in other cells wherever you drag it. So the autofill handle is this little square in the selection border. It's on the lower right corner. And if you notice, when I move the pointer over that, it turns into the crossed, the plus sign. So if I was to drag that down, you see what it's going to do? It's going to fill whatever was in this cell down the other cells. Now, another interesting thing about that is that Excel can anticipate and evaluate a sequence. So here's the sequence, 1, 2, 3. I selected all of those. If I click and drag now, you see what happens is Excel continues the sequence. And that works in the horizontal direction. So if I type a 1 here and a 2 here, and click and drag 1 and 2, and then move over the autofill handle and click and drag over here, it will continue that series. So this is a really useful thing. Saves you a lot of typing, because this will fill in months, it'll fill in days of the week. And if you put a formula in a cell, it will use that. So if I'm in this cell here, I put a formula. You start all formulas with an equal sign. I want to say it equals the cell above plus 8, just to make something up. And so I'll click the check mark to save the formula. So now I have a formula in cell A4. If I use the autofill handle and drag it down, what it will do is it will copy the formula down. So you see the formula is the cell above plus 8. So 9 and 8, 17. The cell above, 17 plus 8 is 25. You see how that's worked its way down here. And that also works horizontally, so I can copy a formula. Since there's nothing in the cells above, it's only 8. So I just wanted to illustrate how that works. And so learn to use these options and learn to recognize what the meaning of the cursor when it changes to the different formats, and how you can use that in Excel.